Welcome to episode 3 in the Ultimate Base series. When we left at the end of the last episode, we were here looking at a 3-deep excavation with supporting pillars and discussing leaving the roof in place to give us peace from attacking zombies whilst we excavate down, and the intention being to go all the way to bedrock before collapsing the roof. And that's what has been done. I did state that it would take a very long time, and if you look at the current day compared to the day the last video ended, that shows you exactly how much time it takes to excavate all this. On top of excavating down, once at the bottom, we then excavate. I'm going to go any further yet, not until putting in a dividing wall here, and that will create a chamber all the way around, off into individual rooms, but for now it will just be a chamber all the way around. The purpose of that chamber is going to be that we will have storage out here, and from in here we will be collecting drops from dead zombies. There'll be like a ceiling layer, and then on the inside there'll be bars. The zombies will fall down and hit the bars, and then we can pick goodies through the bars, and from the outside we'll be able to go up to another layer where there'll be a position to kill from, and then there'll be going up another layer where there'll be another position to shoot down from. So that's the purpose of excavating outward. We do still intend to have our floating base design up top, which the supports for that will be in this line here. So before actually putting too much mass on top of there, we will want to actually put our wall in here. That would then leave us actually having to go a bit higher to make room for the next part of the build, like the next floor and that. And then obviously we'd have to put in a wall again to make sure it can support what we build on top. So yeah, we'll be delaying the building on top until we've done that much of the wall. Once we've got in our 2 floors that we want to put in, the rest of the difference we can do sort of one vertical line at a time rather than taking out an entire side. In which case structural integrity shouldn't really be a problem. We can build on top before we worry about filling in the remainder. We've been collecting stone and making concrete and making iron. We still don't really have enough iron for what we want to build up top. Or should I say still, rather. Literally, because we've gone up to 17 wide now, then structural integrity becomes so important in what we build up top that it's got to be steel. I mean, it could be metal reinforced wood, but that just wouldn't have the damage resistance we're looking for. So it's got to be steel, and we still need more steel to complete that. That's not to worry, because first thing we're going to be doing is putting our walls in here so we support anything we build on top. And once we got those walls in, like I say, we have to excavate up a bit more and out a bit again in order to put in the 2 extra floors, and that should give us some more iron. Plus, I mean, we've started clearing up here, but in clearing we'll be breaking down rocks, and then we have obviously other rocks in the surrounding squares that we're going to clear because we may build into them as well, and obviously there's nothing stopping us just from going further afield and breaking up more rocks. Once we've started putting up here what we want to put up here, we will then have an idea of how far and what direction we want to go in for our first satellite position. Once we know where we're putting that, again we'll be digging down through stone, giving us more iron to smelt to make steel, and we'll be creating a tunnel between here and there. Access to down below will not be from up here per se, it will be via tunnel from the first satellite position. This little hole here, no, I wasn't digging, that's where a cop exploded. I have had 4-5 cops explode up here, and they've like cracked the wood, sometimes even blown the wood away, and it's been replaced and repaired. Not really damaged the stone at all until this one cop did that much damage. It's like there's a lack of continuity in the blast damage. But I mean, the idea was going to be that we would thin this out before collapsing it completely. But now if I'm like thinning it out from below, that's just going to become a hole because this layer's actually gone. It's only 2 layers deep. So yeah, we might be thinning it out from above. Just take a look around. So this line of concrete here, this is like structural support. This line is, oh no, sorry, other way around. This line here is structural support. This line is just the lip sticking out so that spiders can't climb back up. But this material is very brittle. So if a cop explodes here, and it will take out a lot below it because it's so brittle, and it may even take out some of this wood, which will be getting replaced with concrete anyway. But until that replacement is done, it's probably not going to be done till after we've done the walls down below. So yeah, I mean, it could literally blow right through. So eventually, like, we'll make this line concrete, and then we'll go out again and make this line concrete, and then we'll go out, and eventually we'll just take it all the way out to the edges of this square, as it were, on the map. You know, this square, we'll just cover that all in concrete. The satellite position, I mean, if you look at the size of that there, that's 17 by 17. The satellite shouldn't be quite that size. It's probably going to be more like 10 by 10. So they should fit inside this perimeter. Rather than going sort of there and then going in the corner, I'm going to do it like as if you drew a circle with this as the center. So that will be there and that will be there, but this one will be not in the corner, it'll be closer in, so that it remains equidistant from this. So up here, we will like replace this with a line of concrete sooner rather than later. The rest we'll just leave till later. But to start with, so you just put this here to make it easier to get in and out without being smacked by any zombies that might be up here as we ascend. Right, down we go. So yeah, we are going to start with this wall here. Going to go up to 5 blocks high to start with. We'll start putting like horizontal pillars, posts, or whatever they're called, on the top edge of block 4, a ceiling which will become a floor for the next floor up on the at the same height on 4. We want to go 5 high, and then on top of that, which obviously will be after digging up a bit more, we will be putting pillar 50, so as that we can like shoot and grab items through the gaps, but the zombies won't actually be able to walk out. And that'll be a couple of pillars high, then another ceiling, which obviously is another floor, which will take us up to our next firing position, which will be of a different design that you'll see later. And we'll be having an inspection hatch. Down here we'll have a doorway because we're going to be coming in and out. The zombies won't be getting down here, they'll be stopped up there on top of level 4. We won't want a hatch at that height because they'll be able to attack it, and they tend to be attracted to doors. And obviously we want it to be at least above the pillars, so it will probably go 4 blocks, extra block, which will give us a little bit of a rise. You know, if a cop's puking, and you can go between pillars, or you can duck down behind the rise or whatever. Then we'll have a couple of pillars, and then we'll have another block, and then there won't be anything on the inside going up because it's going to be a straight fall, but on the outside there'll be another ceiling going off there. And basically above that ceiling is where the hatch will be, to get access to come in and do maintenance work, you know, if they make too much damage to the walls or whatever. So that's the plan. Grab us some of our materials. We're not going to need that yet, so let us stick our rebars in there. Pick up some concrete. And if I'm thinking right, a 500 rebar should take 5,000 concrete. So as you can see, I've put this archway here. Ultimately it's just as a marker for me. I mean, it's going to be the way in and out, but it's here already as a marker for me to remind me that I'd already decided that we were going to go south first for the first satellite position. So we'll be coming out here, there'll be room here, some storage, and then there'll be tunnel headed that way. Always important to get these corners before we accidentally block ourselves off by covering them over. I mean, in this example it's okay because we actually have room on the outside, but when we get up the top, we're doing corners. Obviously we're not going to go digging a hole outside just to do that and then filling it back in again. So you know, you'd want to, like, you put in your corner piece, but you leave the one next to it blank. You fill it on one side, not both sides. You leave that blank so that you can come and hammer those in first, and when that's done you go put these in, sort of thing. So yeah, from the outside we'll be having a layer here to be ceiling slash floor, and that will be going all the way around as well. So yeah, on the inside, 5th layer, and then above that will be pillars. In fact, let's think about this. So it's a 17 by 17 excavation at this width. So if we have like 17 on one side, and then it takes 16 to get to the next corner, 16 to the next corner, leaving 15 on the other side. It's basically the equivalent of 4 times 16. So what's that? 16, 32, 64. And we'll be having 2 layers of pillars. So that's 128, is it? 16, 32, 64, 100. Yeah, so we'll basically need 128 pillars, which will be 1,280 concrete. And let's just pick out another couple of thousand concrete and make ourselves some pillars. Might as well be making those whilst we're doing the other stuff. Right. So it's pillar 50 we want. Concrete pillar 50. Let's just craft one for now. 127 to go. Right, pop that way, bring that down. Just check it's definitely the 50 that we want. So yeah, if we have those side by side, there'll be enough gap in between to shoot arrows, shoot bullets, reach in and pick up goodies, which we'll also be able to do from down there as well. But the zombies won't actually be able to get out through those gaps. And straight away we see that this is, yeah, they've changed these ones so that they go straight to that state. They don't go to that state first and then need upgrading to that state. So these are only costing 10 concrete each time. These are costing 10 to make, and then they're going to cost another 10 to upgrade. So yeah, but for now let's just put in the unupgraded ones. There's 127 more needed. Although that said, we can't actually put in any more until we excavate higher. But we'll get those crafting. And yet we've just spotted a mistake. That should be a pillar. That one there and the one next to it, those should be pillars. We're going to have to take those back out again. Can't even reach it. No, not that one. Next one up. Next one up. So even though it should be like 110,000% safe down here, we'll still eventually put a vault door here anyway. In case there's some kind of major catastrophe, we want to be able to be one side of the vault door or the other with it shut. If there's ever a major catastrophe, which there shouldn't be, but you know what, it's always best to have a thing and not need it than it is to need a thing and not have it. As you can see, referring back to the previous video where you basically saw a wooden pillar supporting the roof a couple of blocks high, it was only like 3 blocks high. And that was before we actually pulled out the last of the stone that was in between as well. But now we've done this entire height in frames, because afterwards we can just pick the frames back up again and you know, not waste resources. I mean, it would be really quick to just take out these bottom two and just watch it collapse, but resources are resources, so we're probably going to do it the long way. So there was a thing where you couldn't do a vertical stack of frames over a certain height without it being supported by something, and it's for console. But just in case, I've doubled them up, so basically even though they're all still frames, that stack is supported by that stack and that one by that one, etc. Right, let us crack on. So you'll notice that I'm sort of doing bottom and top and in the middle last. If I were to go like top and then middle, I'd then have the problem of trying to look under the middle to get to the bottom, and vice versa. If I did bottom then middle, I'd have to try and look over it to get top. So that's why I like do the middle layer last. So yeah, I mean, we would be going up another layer for the second pillar, then up another layer for the next row of 4 square blocks, and on top of that we'd be putting in like the next firing position and the access door. So the access door is going to be 2 layers high. There's one. There's 2. You need another block on top of that. You don't just want that left blank. So I mean, as you can see, we're already digging up higher than the swing reaches here. So there would be a block on top of that sort of thing. So that would be the minimum height we'd be going to, just for where we'd be like looking over the edge and shooting down at whatever has landed, basically at that height there. Oh, hungry again. Well, I'm hearing the distinctive sounds of, what, 3 different types of zombies up there right now? I actually ignored them and just kept working down here one time for so long that the game, I guess, I don't know, gave up. It just despawned them. Wow, sounds like something just actually broke. Maybe we should go up and pay them a visit. Oh, maybe not. So, yeah, what else? What else? I mean, we've got pillars. We're also going to need... I never remember what they call them. Are they posts or are they beams or bars or... No, they're not posts. But what they are is concrete to start with, so let's use that as a filter. Ah, there we go, quarter block. Concrete quarter block. So, yeah, basically it's 1 block for every internal square or internal cube. So that, I mean, that wall is 17 by 17, so internally it's 15 by 15, which is 225 if my maths is right. So we would want 225 of these, which eventually would get upgraded to steel. So yeah, Is that the right block? Is that the one I'm after? Yes, it must be. Yeah. So I wouldn't want it on the bottom. You know, I'd probably like place spikes on top of it or something. So I'd want to rotate that to the top. And now, because of the way partial blocks work, it doesn't actually have to be physically touching. You know, I mean, I could have it going out that way across. Has to be upgraded to steel because of the size of this gap. Unless I put a vertical support like running through a lot of the middle, then at least, you know, the first few layers on the outside would have to be upgraded to steel just to hold the whole thing up. So yeah, I mean, I could do like a row going across, and then there a row going across, or whatever. I could sort of turn that around so that there's a gap between it and the outside wall, and then work my way into the middle. And when I get to the middle, I could like just put two next to each other. Alternatively, it doesn't actually have to physically touch. I could do rings. I could you know, put there and then rotate that round to face the other way, and so it doesn't actually touch that. I could do rings that become concentric on the way in. I think the only drawback of that really is in the corners. I'd actually have to make 1/8 block and put that in the corner. Otherwise the mobs would be able to squeeze down. With that in mind, it's probably more sensible to just do lines across, but then, you know, I could do a line going this way and then the same on the opposite side, and then in between them I could do a line going the other way, and then in between them a line going this way, and keep alternating, which is also a way of doing it. But right now we are we don't need to put them in place yet, so we can continue working on the excavating up and the fact that we're going to have this ceiling all the way around. I'll most likely go at least 4 out, and then have a ramp that we can walk up to the next layer, which would leave us walking space here that you know, we're not going to fall into the ramp. But just for the sake of having a decent sized room, it'll probably go out 6, and then the next floor up will go out the same, and the floor above, well, the ceiling above that would. Essentially none of this has to be concrete here, because this isn't going to be load bearing. Only this wall here is necessarily load bearing, and then you know, we'll sort of go out 6 blocks and then we'll put in another wall which will be somewhat load bearing, but nowhere near as vital as this. Let me just take a quaff of my coffee. So yeah, this is like the last slide, isn't it? Yeah. So I guess it's probably best to keep the start of the ramp at least near this entrance exit sort of thing. I mean, we could start it here and then go around the corner, or we could just like not worry about making it round corners and just start the ramp here going that way, and yeah, but that's currently where the ramp would be, is still inside this walls. So the next stage in here will be excavating up, making room for the next floor. I'm thinking, yes, we'll have the ramp on this side. And I'm thinking, so I don't have to worry or concern myself too much about exceeding the 7 concrete in a row that reinforced concrete can support. Unreinforced is probably not even that. With this line, which I've put it too high, but apart from that, with this line, because even though it's not touching that, as far as the game's concerned in terms of structural integrity, it is touching. Now that was one too high. I actually meant to build that on the layer below. Right, let's do this properly. This layer, 4th layer. So yeah, and then when it comes to this line, I could then rotate it again . So as you can see, the 2 opposing sides are equal. And we can still reach anything that's right up against the wall. And that should go all the way across. Just like that side. Well, that side will when we don't have the ladder in the middle of it. The ladder will get removed when we have another way in and out, I guess. And then in between those two, we have rotated it into the opposite plane, and we do the same the other side. And then in between these two, we rotate again. I'm not going to be putting too many of these in right now. So they'll need reinforcing before we get too far from the edge. Well, that gives you the idea. And I'm hungry again. And then once again you would rotate again to go back the other way to do. So that's the pattern, and it leaves us plenty of gaps that in fact when the mobs are dead, their bodies will sometimes fall down through the gap, but not. That's the way it's been playing out. But yeah, you then sort of go back like this. And then again you rotate, and again until you basically meet in the middle, and the chances are right in the middle you'll end up with two blocks next to each other that would form a square, because this is deliberately an odd number of blocks wide. The main reason why it's deliberately an odd number of blocks wide is because right in the middle of the section up top will be a hatch leading down a ladder to a cage, and you know the hatch is 1 block by 1 block wide, and I like it to be dead in the center. So let's just pop upstairs. Gonna see who's making all that racket. It definitely sounds quieter than it was before, so I'm thinking maybe some of them have I don't know, dropped dead. You'd be surprised how often I come across flesh packs of dead zombies that I didn't kill. Come on, come on, here we go. Right, what have we got? Well, will you look at that over there? What the heck? Where do you guys think you're going? I don't know why I crouched. I know I said I heard the sound of something wooden breaking, but I wasn't expecting to find that up here. What's that behind us? Uh-oh, I'm now hearing a dog. Where's the dog? Really, the dogs are a pain. Such a pain. So the annoying thing is I'm going to have to fill all this in, aren't I? Just give myself some breathing room. Or not. Well, thanks for the bullets. So, let's make these solid. Rather have the animal fat. Have I got skins on me? No. I've got tons of bones. Let's not worry about keeping bones, he says, and then yep. Yeah, it doesn't bother me if I lose that. To be honest, it didn't feel like we were ignoring them that long, but they've definitely done a lot more damage this time than they had before, with the exception of that cop explosion there. So we're going to replace, actually something or someone is running up behind us. And now you're not. Let's mark the corners in first. Right, got enough concrete on us to do the other corner. We'll have to go pick up some more. The other thing we're going to be using concrete for is putting plates along here in between these frames that I've marked the corners out with, as those are going to be supporting a floating section above them. Yeah, so this is the structurally supporting line here. That one is just a buffer, shall we say, because that material is so fragile. And again, this is the lip that sticks out to stop spider zombs coming back up. Basically, this is going to be supporting something up here, which will be supporting something out there. And if you like draw a line, say from, well, I mean, if you draw a line from the actual corner, the physical corner, you're just going to run into your other line. If you draw a line from the lip, then when they meet, it's still going to be out here and not in there. In order for them to sort of meet in that space in there, you have your corner, and then you need to go to, and then start putting in your supports on each side. So that's why we skip those ones there and just do these ones in between. Okay. Oh, right. So there is a kind of a glitch in the game right now where I can't actually put anything on that block or that one, but that's okay because we didn't actually want to put a plate on that. The reason I know this glitch is because I tried putting a frame there to measure out the corners, and yeah, it's just, it won't allow anything to go on that square anyhow. Luckily for us, that's not a square we actually wanted to build on. Eventually we'll probably put plates here and here, or certainly here, maybe not there, but here and here and here and here, just to make it all the same height, because we don't really want the zoms sort of getting here and then turning around, because there's a little bit of a rise to step up or something. Right, so the remaining frames are for, sorry, the remaining plates are for what we build above this. So it's 44 there now, should be 44, should be 11 each side. And there'll be 44 above that, and there'll be a couple of solid blocks, and there'll be 2 lines of another 44, and then in the middle there'll be another 2 lines of 44. A lot of that will need to be reinforced in steel. And those plates around there are just to trick zoms into thinking there's something solid they can step on, to make them fall in. So yeah, they'll be upgraded eventually, but right now it does us no harm whatsoever just leaving them as wood, as they're not in the least bit structurally important. So there you have it. Right, here we are at bedrock. We still have our protection layer supported by these columns. We made a good start down here. We're going to want to finish down here before we build up there, purely to preserve structural integrity. So we'll cut the stream here and excavate upward, and we'll rejoin when we're ready to do the next section of building. Catch you next time.